Hello, my name is Renee Islas, and I'm the Executive Director for the National Association for Gifted Children. I'm here today with a few leaders and advocates for gifted and talented children at Ball State University. Ball State University is a sponsor of NAGC's Administrator Award on an annual basis. I want to talk to a few of the leaders. We have Dean John Jacobson, we have Christine Spears-Neumeister, as well as Dr. Christine David, who is the interim director of the Center for Gifted Studies here at your university. So with that, let me go ahead and begin and just welcome all of you and welcome all of those who are watching this video to learn more about Ball State and the importance of administrators as well in supporting gifted and talented education. Let me start with you, Dr. Jacobson. Tell me a little bit about the program that you have there at Ball State University. It sounds like you have an interesting program where you do practical work with students as well as working with teachers and administrators. And I'm happy to report that I noticed that U.S. News and World Reports actually list Ball State University one of the best programs in the country. But you also do some very special things for gifted and talented students as well.
We do. Thank you, Renee. And we appreciate spotlighting Ball State University, in particular Teachers College, and what we do in the area of gifted and talent development. At Ball State University, we have a really unique situation in that we have a laboratory school called Burris Laboratory that's been in existence since 1928. Within the last decade or so, we added a component to the school of a lottery. So children come into the school through a lottery, a gifted and talented lottery. So a third of our students come into the school with that GT. And then that's a 650 student K-12 setting. Then we also have the Indiana Academy for Science, Mathematics, and Humanities, which is the only residential gifted and talented high school in the state. It's also rated #1 in Indiana and 3rd in the nation by niche.com in the way for public schools. So those are our schools that we work with here at Ball State University on our campus. We obviously engage in other schools throughout the state, but those are right here on our campus. Then we have our academic programming where we prepare teachers, both through a certificate program if they're not in our state, and that's all online, as well as a license program for Indiana, and that's online as well. And then we also have for our undergraduates a concentration that they can go through a sequence of 12 credit hours to pick up that concentration in gifted and talented. Then, of course, our Center for Gifted and Talent Development acts somewhat as a hub as we coordinate all of our efforts for gifted and talented development. And you mentioned administrators. We have a very strong administrator program, preparation program here, and our administrators have access to all of the assets within GT to help them become acquainted and be good administrators in the public or private schools in their settings.
Great, that's great. A lot of interesting ways of connecting the practical work of supporting students directly, as well as using that information to improve your program. I'm really excited to hear about that and the importance of educators in gifted education, but really in supporting children to reach their personal best. I want to turn to Dr. Spears-Neumeister, who's a professor over at Ball State and with you as well. She manages much of the licensure, the certification, and the certificate programs and concentrations that you mentioned. One of the things that we see at the National Association for Gifted Children is the power of educating general education teachers in gifted and talented. Tell me about the concentration programs, Dr. Spears-Neumeister, and how that kind of opens the minds of general educators about the needs and nature and how to support gifted children.
Well, I think that speaks in large part to how gifted and talented works in the state of Indiana. We don't have as many districts that use a pull-out model. The majority of gifted kids in Indiana are served in the general classroom, and so it's very important in our preparation materials to make sure that we are coming from that lens. So what can the general education teacher do to support the unique needs of these learners? So that's how we have framed our both our licensure courses and our certification courses. I think the courses are unique, much in the way that you said earlier. At Ball State University, we try not to just deliver the theoretical knowledge. We try to translate that. Here's the theory, and how does that translate into exactly what classroom teachers and administrators need in order to effectively meet the needs of those students. So that's a unique, and I think a really strong component to our programming. Both our certificate and our licensure programs are 4-course sequence. Our teachers take courses in the introduction, kind of understanding characteristics and needs of high ability or gifted learners. They take a course on identification and program evaluation, a course on curriculum and how to design curriculum specifically for gifted kids. And then they have an elective, either a course on creativity or a course that specifically focuses on social emotional needs. Our license and our certificate is nationally accredited. That also sets us apart from other universities. And I think that the feedback we get from our students is that they appreciate the fact that we tailor our programming and our assignments and major assessments exactly to what they need. So we don't just talk about differentiation, we model and practice that within our programming as well. So an administrator coming in has assignments that are designed exactly for what he or she would need, as well as a kindergarten teacher or an AP physics teacher. So it's very personalized and customized to what those professionals need to reach the gifted kids in the capacities that they're working in.
I just might add, Renee, that we are very fortunate in Indiana in that we have appropriated, the state has appropriated dollars that help teachers offset the cost of tuition.
Yes.
And so we have that here at Ball State University, and we are the university in Indiana that has that grant to help support teachers in their acquisition of either license or a certificate.
That's great. We know how important it is for general ed teachers as well as subject-specific teachers or domain-specific teachers in gifted, that they have the training to recognize and support the needs of gifted and talented children. I want to thank you for doing that work, and not only in Indiana, but across the country through some of your online programs. Let me step back just for a second, Dr. Neumeister, and talk about, I noticed that you said that you have a national recognition for your program, or a national accreditation. We know that that is because, in part, that you focus on aligning yourself and your program to the National Association for Gifted Children standards for teacher preparation. Can you talk about the process of aligning your program to those standards, and what are some of the things that you get out of those standards in building your program?
Well, we finished our accreditation a couple years ago, and now we're on the new cycle. And as you well know, the standards changed, and the new ones, we were under the former standards. So we've had to revise and remap our program recently to address those new standards. And I think they do what they should do, hold us accountable and make sure that we are appropriately addressing what both the National Association for Gifted Children as well as the Council for Exceptional Children have said are the most critical skills and content areas that they want people licensed in gifted education to be able to be familiar with and know how to execute. So when we go through, we make sure that each of the 4 courses is addressing those 7 standards, different combinations of those standards, but they are heavily blanketed so that when they complete our program, we are sure that they have seen and addressed those standards in multiple courses.
Great. I'm glad you find value in the work of the standard setting committee and how they are working to really make sure that all gifted and talented teacher preparation programs address the needs of the teachers, those who support gifted and talented children. I want to move over to Dr. Christine David. Dr. Jacobson said that you have a hub at Ball State. That hub is the center. Tell me about the center and how you serve in that role as the hub for all of the practical, theoretical, and learning projects that go on within Ball State and the community.
Certainly. Well, the Center for Gifted Studies and Talent Development is currently housed within the Burris Laboratory School. So with us being in that location, we have that direct access to the teachers and administrators at Burris Lab, as well as direct access to the Indiana Academy faculty as well. And not only with their faculty, but with their students. And so we really serve the purpose of working within the internal components of Ball State University, but also externally within the state as well. When we do research projects that we get from the Teachers College with professors that are working to investigate learners and what their needs are, we oftentimes will act as the liaison between the schools and the Teachers College, so that we're working together to ensure that we can get our research executed the way it needs to be done. We also provide professional development to the teachers at Burris Lab at the Indiana Academy as well. And we really take in their concerns and questions. So we act as that resource for them. So when they need particular items, they can come to us. Externally, we are, as Dean Jacobson had mentioned, we are administering the grant from the Indiana State Department of Education. So there's a partial tuition reimbursement. So we take care of all of that within the center on our end. And those are from learners, from faculty members all throughout the state. So we execute that grant for the Department of Education. We also provide external resources. We've done parenting groups in the past for parents across the state of Indiana who are looking for support as well. In the summer, in the past, we have done programming for children in the gifted and talented ability as well. And we partner with other institutions that do that, so that we're making sure that students in the state of Indiana have access to other programs as well.
Sounds really comprehensive in that you're touching upon all of those that support gifted and talented students, whether it is parents, whether it is educators, administrators, and members of the community at large, to think about how they can create an environment so that students thrive. I'm really excited about the work that you're doing in the state of Indiana, and again, across the United States, because you cross borders and support teachers through your online programs to go beyond the learning that they have access to in their own states. Let me stop there and think about, you said that you had interactions with state leaders. And I'm assuming when you're talking about state leaders, you're also talking about administrators. As I said at the beginning of the session here, Ball State University is a generous sponsor of the NAGC Administrators Award. And so I'm assuming that you really have a commitment as an organization to administrators and the role that they play, but also in your work with them directly in Indiana, help them understand how to support gifted learners. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Let me just add my comment on that. That is, I'm a former elementary school principal, and as I brought my faculty together and we talked about meeting the needs of all children, we decided that we would go with a model that Indiana has particularly identified, and that is that we, just like our special ed students, we want them integrated into coursework in the regular traditional setting. We also want our gifted children in that general setting as much as possible. And so we made a concerted effort to provide that differentiation of instruction within the general classroom. So me as a principal, having that knowledge about gifted education and meeting the needs, that is what we want to instill in all of the principals and also district and superintendents in their philosophy. that all teachers need to be prepared to meet the needs of all students.
That's great.
May
Extremely
I
important. We know that administrators, whether they're school building leaders or at the district leaders, that they really set the tone for what expectations and learning should look like at the classroom level. So I appreciate the work that you're doing. I think I cut somebody off as well. So there's some more comments about that?
I was just going to add, you know, this is an area I feel very strongly about, because if leadership principals don't understand or support, there's not as much the classroom teacher can do. And so the Indiana Department of Ed has provided training to administrators over the years and invited me to speak about what they need to know about high ability or gifted kids at our national our state conference for gifted. I've done presentations geared toward administrators. I try to serve on doctoral committees for our students in educational leadership, so they have that dimension. Different universities that have principal leadership academies have invited us to speak and share what we think about gifted. So we try to blanket that in as many different avenues as we can, recognizing that it really does start with a strong administrator who can support that teacher in doing what he or she needs to do.
I want to thank all of you for the commitment to teacher preparation, to educator preparation, administrators as well, and all of those in the community in the needs of gifted and talented students. Particularly, I want to thank you for being the lead sponsor of the NAGC Administrators Award. It shows commitment that you have not only to support administrators within the state, but you share the importance of administrators and the role that they play in creating the right environments where children can achieve their personal best. I want to thank you for all of your time here today and look forward to seeing you at our North Carolina National Convention for Gifted and Talented Children, which is coming up in November. So there we will be able to give the award. You will be standing with the award winners and thanking them for their leadership as administrators in supporting the needs of gifted and talented children. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you.